We're also investing and moving forward very aggressively on our Made in Alberta energy diversification program. That too will ultimately bring about jobs, and in the longer term, it will leave our economy more resilient to the inevitable ups and downs with respect to oil prices.
Would Silicon Valley diversify away from high tech? Yeah, we got to get rid of all these high tech companies. Diversify. Let's get into logging. Would Hollywood diversify away from movies? Yeah, we got to get out of this movie business. Maybe we'll make cars here in Hollywood. No, those are gold mines. It's insane for Alberta, sitting on 173 billion barrels of oil in the oil sands, to diversify away from oil. But that's her plan. You'll recall she had a sham press conference a month ago where she said she was going to give a $400 million loan guarantee to an oil upgrader project, and the entire media party reported it like stenographers. Notley said, quote, construction was already underway. But remember, our Sheila Gunn-Reid went to the site and saw it's just a snow-covered field. Hasn't been any activity there in a decade. The president of the company himself confirmed to me directly, they're not even hiring anyone, let alone the construction's underway. The whole thing remains a dream, a pipe dream. So yeah, there's no recovery for Alberta. Unless you're part of Alberta's massive and growing government sector that's never been bigger. Funny how that works. I think most government sector workers will be there for Notley, not just to vote, but to volunteer and to donate as third-party campaign groups. They know what side their bread is buttered on. But I bet that even some Albertans who work for the government know that even their own jobs are in peril if the economy keeps failing. As Margaret Thatcher said about socialism, sooner or later you run out of other people's money. I think that's the beginning and the end of it. Notley has harmed Alberta's key industry, both substantively and rhetorically. She hasn't stood up to Trudeau in any way, or to her fellow NDP or John Horgan in BC or Jagmeet Singh federally. I think that's actually all there is to know. But there are other reasons I think she'll lose too. Notley's war on family farms, requiring farm kids to be treated like unionized workers, for example. It's nuts. It is unanimously despised by farmers and ranchers, which is the point. Notley hates them because they're the freest of Albertans, the least socialist of Albertans. And then there's her war against parents in the schools, especially a war against Christian schools. Test scores are plummeting in Alberta, but she's going full tilt with her ideological re-education. Here's a picture of her. This is just crazy. In school, do you see that book she's reading? It's a communist propaganda tract called Mouseland. It's a socialist book. She's reading it. She's not hiding it, folks. She goes into schools and reads communist books. And you know her education minister, David Eggen, I mean, he's this kook, remember him?
No new approvals! No new approvals! No new approvals! No new approvals!
That was him chanting no more approvals to the oil sands. So yeah, they're awful. They were an accidental government elected by accident when Albertans decided all at the same time that they hated and couldn't trust the late Jim Prentice, who was then the Progressive Conservative Premier, and Danielle Smith, who was then the Wildrose opposition leader. Because the two of them, Smith and Prentice, had cooked up a backroom deal between them. Just to remind you, Prentice had a majority. He was going to win another majority. Smith was the opposition to Prentice's right, which is refreshing. It was great, actually. She might even have been Premier. Either way, it would be good. But then they cut a secret deal together. Do you remember this? Where half the Wildrose opposition defected to join the government just weeks before the election. It was an obvious attempt to deprive Albertans of any real choice. Albertans were so mad about this, they punished both parties for trying to destroy democracy by voting for the NDP. It was a disgrace and it was a punishment. But alas, the greatest punishment was meted out against Albertans themselves who have suffered under the NDP for 4 years. That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant show. Every day I do a video monologue and then I interview an interesting guest and then I end by reading my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at therebel.media/shows.